Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Decisions Lunch and Learn. It is Gregory here once again, and I would be glad to go over our things here on the right. So we got our Decisions Support YouTube channel. It is different from the Decisions YouTube channel. We actually have two of them. The Decisions YouTube channel is designed for previous webinars and content there if you wish to catch those, whereas the Decisions Support channel is designed to cover using particular topics, different use cases, covering concepts, or previous lunch and learns. Next one we got is the Solutions Marketplace. Highly recommend taking it out. It is very closely connected to our Decisions forums, where you may see questions posted by individuals that are hopefully answered. And hopefully you can get your questions answered there too. And then, of course, DocBot, our decisions AI technology that is sourced directly from our documentation and provides different information regarding, well, anything in decisions. So if you were to go inside of a flow and ask, hey, how do I make so-and-so, or how do I do so-and-so? Then DocBot is usually going to give a pretty good answer on how you may want to build that out to accomplish what you're looking for, or if you just want to understand how a step or function works in general. Okay, that's the general portion here. I see we're getting questions in already, so let me flip to my decisions environment, if you'll give me all just a moment, and we will get started on that. So I'm going to pull that up. That is this screen right here, and there we go. All right, cool. Let me grab participants so I can unmute people as needed, and let's check the first question, which is from this here. Is it possible to access Wasabi data storage, retrieving the storage files using AWS Amazon Web Services module on Decisions? You are on version 819.0.72967. How would we configure the service endpoint? Okay, let me allow you to talk so we can discuss this answer together, and I make sure that I get an understanding here. So you're integrating with an AWS service, specifically the Wasabi data storage. And I'm assuming that you've already gone to administration, features, and then when you look for AWS services in here, here it is. The particular modules and connection functions that exist in here are not suiting your needs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, I was trying to set it up. I know that, we have a team that created a module, a custom module to do that, but I want to see if it is already in decision. We can do that. Um,
Okay. Let's take a look here. Not that never.
I didn't see a way to add the endpoint. I think that's what was missing.
I see. Let
Was
me
not.
take a look. Now, I'm on Decisions version 9.3, and we've made gradual updates to this module. So let me take a look here and see if what you're looking for exists. But first, we have to, in version 9, go to configuration, dependencies, and I have to declare this module as a dependency to this particular project. After that, we can now go back in here. We can pull from, it should be integration. There it is, Amazon AWS. And,
Yeah, I
yeah,
see S3 under S3.
S3 storage unit. All
Yeah,
right.
I was trying to use those.
Okay, I see. So let's do a simple one of list objects, right? So let's say we're trying to list that. We specify the bucket name. Um, External ID and role. We're going to leave that blank for now. Access key, ID, secret key, access, and then it outputs the list of those objects. But there is nowhere that you're seeing to configure the AWS endpoint from here where you're trying to hit, right? That's the issue.
Right, right.
Oh,
That's wasabi.com.
okay. Let's take a look at something real quick because that might actually be in system settings after it gets created. Amazon Web Service settings. Let's edit these. Yeah, access ID, use temporary credentials, default region, use temporary credentials, use SNS.
These are for queues, I think. But
Yeah, and
yeah, this
this
is where I
isn't
think.
actually configuring the, yeah, I see what you're saying. Interesting. I get what, yeah, we need to actually point it somewhere. That's kind of a problem. So how do we do that? Let me see if it's in Portal. Give me a moment. No. Hmm. Time to play around a little bit here. Wait a minute.
I mean, it could be just embedded and it's just Amazon Web Storage, not anything else.
Could be, but shouldn't we need to like region, constant, region
Yeah,
system? Yeah.
just
And that outputs a get client output. I don't think that would work here. Why would this? Let me check our S3 docs real quick. Actually, you know what? Let's ask DocBot and then we'll check our S3 docs. Hello, DocBot. Hey, DocBot. How do I get an AWS S3 S3 storage endpoint in my flow? Let's see what it says. Also, while that's going, let's take a look in here. External ID and all. Set up your AWS credentials and configuration. The decisions specifying IAM user access key and secret key, ensuring a trusted relationship with a role that has necessary permissions. Yes, I get that. I understand that. But how are we? Yeah, that's basically everything that we were seeing already, right? So let's take a look here. Installation, configuration. Yep, default region. I get that. You need the access and the get all region names. I wonder if I have a theory that maybe this goes out to a particular Amazon web point and it needs to be pointed with something I'm not sure if Amazon Gateway would do that actually, but some sort of endpoint within Amazon to point to that wasabi URL or endpoint from AWS itself. I'm not certain. I will I will look into this and try to understand what needs to be pointed to in order to connect that. But I need to confirm whether or not this is something that is configured within a decisions side as far as pointing it there in settings, or if it has particular endpoints that these are designed to point to, and then from there is where it routes users from your AWS setup. So let me check that and confirm, all right?
okay. I think in the code it's the endpoint and access keys and secret was set in the environment on Amazon, but somewhere on the server on the gateway. But
Okay, so if it
but
points to the D, oh, what were you saying? Yeah.
yeah, but for Amazon for the settings on decision, we are explicitly sending those access keys and secrets. So I think the endpoint is missing. That's what. I
Mm.
think it is.
I will take a look. I will ask. I could actually have a channel here, ask our devs, and I will get back to you with an answer once they get back to me. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And I've got your hold on, let me make sure I have your email just to make sure I can message you, you know. Let's see here. Do I have your email?
It's nsawalha@lambrex.com.
Um, I'm looking. Would you mind sending that to me in the chat?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I want to make sure I can get back to you with that answer. But to be honest, I don't know off the top of my head how to configure a particular endpoint outside of those that the default integration steps are pointing to already. So I will figure that out.
Okay. It says chat disabled though.
Oh, no way. That's so messed up. Hold on. Put in the QA. I can grab it from there. Not a problem. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right, grab that now, and I'll make sure that I get back to you with an answer.
Thanks.
Yep, sure thing. All right. Going to go on to our next question real quick, which is from Robert Sharp. I have a question about using the run flow for CSV step and how to debug a flow using it since the internal flow for the step is not accessible in the debugger tool. Ooh. All right, well, hold on a moment. Let's figure that out together. And let me unmute you as well so we can talk about this. Where'd my people go? There we go. All right, you should be able to talk. And let's start with the run flow for CSV.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay, so it runs a flow in here. I do want to end the chat. And then we go into the editor right here. And then it does something. Output type. Format. XLS. Output type is going to be, let's make it a string. Separator, comma, dot, vertical bar. I don't think that matters with XLS, but all right. Worksheet index 0, and then we specify the file input, which I'll make that a constant for our particular purposes, and we'll see what can go on in here. I actually have a file for this. Give me just a moment. Nope, wrong one. And it switched on me. Lovely. All right. Hold on. I got it. Here we go. All right, so it goes through each and every row, and if we debug this, we are seeing an issue where we can't find the particular flow that's running.
Yes, I'm in version 8, if that makes a difference.
It
Because when I
might.
debug, I do not see that dropdown.
Interesting. What version of 8, if I might ask?
8.14.
8.14. All right, I'm pulling up and making sure that this was not a breaking change real quick. Let's go to our release notes, which is on our doc site, and then we'll do run CSV. That should pull it up. Advanced search. Let me just type in the whole name. Run flow for CSV. Oh, oh, I might have found it. Hold on. CSV, come on. Come on. Nope, that wasn't it. Ah, give me just a moment to browse around a little bit, and I'll drag this screen over so y'all can see what's going on here. So you can go to our search, and then if you go under this and then release notes, and then just type run flows for CSV, go to advanced search, and then we're gonna see anywhere it says run flows for CSV, right? Anywhere that we see that. Run flows for. I'm not seeing anything that's specifically for the run flows for CSV step. And then let's confirm on that step real quick. We'll go to step library and let's make sure that I'm actually spelling it right. Yep, run flows for CSV. This was introduced in version 7.12. Okay, that's fine. Interesting. So that debugger isn't working. Let me check one more place. This is an internal place that I cannot share my screen for, so give me just a moment. Let's see if this is a bug or not. Looking. Not seeing it immediately. Not seeing anything, so I wonder if it was a bug that was fixed. I'm gonna check one more thing that's actually in here in the environment real quick. So run flow for CSV. Do you have this box checked?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah, so it can see the flow data from inside that flow.
All right. Separator shouldn't matter. Output type shouldn't matter. Ignore first row shouldn't matter. That all shouldn't matter. Step information, nothing to configure there. And then the only last thing I could think of is maybe this is something that it doesn't like if you pass in the options dynamically. So let me do that real quick and see if that has anything to do with it. This will be type file data. It's going to be a constant. We'll edit that outside of here. And we're going to drag over that same file as before. And instead of a constant, we'll do flow data, dynamic, grab that in, debug. Let's see if this. No, I'm still getting it. Interesting.
Okay.
Version 8.16 you said, right?
14.
14, 8.14. I I don't have a V8 environment currently running that's that old. Let me I think I've got a place that I can test this offline and see, but I can get back to you and let you know whether or not it's actually a bug or if there's something misconfigured on it.
Okay.
Are there any additional fields that you're using here? Like, do you use any sort of asynchronous flows inside of here or a pause step or anything like that?
No, it's all within a subflow. So
Oh wait, everything in here is inside of a subflow?
the no inside the file or inside the flow, it's sorry, so many levels of flow.
Yeah.
The flow inside that step is regular.
Okay, this is just
Um,
normal with some steps, does some stuff.
yeah, yeah, and then the for each loop to go through each field basically.
One
And
quick
then
question. Is the
yes,
output also Excel? Is the data
the
format?
output it's
Sorry, the data
auto.
format. Oh, this is set to auto select. Interesting. Let me try this. Let me see if this does anything different. It does not. And do you normally pass in CSVs or Excel files?
They're Excel files.
They're Excel files. Okay. And then I'm just going to try this with all these. If it throws us an error, so be it. I just want to make sure I'm at least seeing that error. And then let's try CSV. And this is probably going to throw us an error. No, wow, that's kind of crazy that that worked. Okay. All right. Yeah, let me see if I can figure out what's going on there. That might just be a bug. I'm on version 9.3 for reference, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
I'll take a look into that and I'll ask around. I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank
Yep, sure thing.
you.
All right. I saw we had quite a few more questions. Let me pull those up. So Alexander asks, could you go over decisions ETL ability, mainly the EL between multiple systems? For example, if I need to push a MySQL table to Snowflake, or if I need to set up triggers for a job to run based on what's on a database. I think we're going to need a little bit more context here. So let me let you talk real quick and we can discuss this. Okay, you should be able to talk. So
Mhm.
what are you trying to maintain between multiple systems?
So essentially, we have a main system, our business layer, right, that
Okay.
holds all of our, let's say, orders for the day. And in the system, we don't run reports off of that because it's, production. So on the back end, we have another database in Snowflake that we run reports off of because, that way it's because it's so taxing and, something could happen. We're trying to keep production clean. We
Hmm.
often push data from production into Snowflake for our end users to run reports off of. So I was wondering
Okay.
what were the ETL options inside of decisions, just in general. I mean,
Let's see here.
and I mean, if it's not like it's strong point, that's fine too. I know you probably can. I just want to know, like, what's the best way to do that?
Like to pull in the data into decisions and then convert it. Like I would think that you just set up an integration to the Snowflake database.
Hmm.
So what you can do this on multiple levels. Let me make that very clear. So if you do it on the project level under manage, integrations, databases, create a database connection, right? So I can set that to ODBC, Snowflake, right? Set that up. We even call out Snowflake's was it the parameter terminology to use, passing the connection and then either a connection string or we can use an agent to connect to that either way. But let's see where they go. Yeah, here we go. So we pick Snowflake here, right? Passing the connection string to that Snowflake database. And then once you have a connection that's made, gates wide open for how you want to handle that data. So let me show you some of the options real, just so you know. I'm going to use this on my local connection, but these still apply to Snowflake as well, just so you see what's going on. Because I don't have a Snowflake database set up at the moment. So let's go here, create data type integration, and then go to database integration. You'll pick from here if you want to add a procedure to run from here. You can add table integration. You can add a view integration if a view created within that database. You can add a relation itself if it's a relational database. And of course, you can just add a query to pull information from it. There are bulk insert options and removal options, or there are at least bulk options for database pulling from an ODBC. So let me hold on. Let me just create a flow to show those off. Okay, so is it under database or integrations? We're about to figure out. Not connection strings. Nope, that's not it. All right, I think it's under integrations, database, ODBC, and then get table information, get type name, full. You can use all this to pull this in from your ODBC connection that you've established or create the connection string in here. Like you don't have to, let me show you, for example. For example, get table infos right here. I can just pass in the connection string directly. I don't need to make the integration in order to get that output right here and then process that. If you want a scheduled job that runs every time that table updates, that is a little bit different because what you want is you want a scheduled job that is going to be triggered by something external, right? That's what you're looking for.
Yes, that's correct. So every time it would update, I would like to um, do a pull and push it to this new table for our
Okay.
end users to use.
Before we get into that part, is this making sense right here? Like, does this kind of give you the options you're looking for to pull in this information?
It makes sense. It's pulling in the information. Can it also can I create a table as well? I mean, that's not in the scope of this, but I was just curious.
You should be able to. Yeah, I don't see any reason why you couldn't, especially when you set up the integrations to run defined queries on those tables, right? So if you're in here, you create a query from our integration, add a query integration. This is just the simplest one. That's why I'm doing this. You just set it up here. You just specify what you want to do in that table, and as long as the decisions service account, I want to say, but let me confirm as far as the database integration, how it allows external connections. You have to make sure your external database allows the updating of data from decisions, of course. But once that's configured, yeah, just type out what you want to do, run it, save it. As soon as you do this, it creates a step in decisions that you can use in your flow to perform this action against that database. In fact, let me give you an example for SQL at least. If I want to select all from entity underscore account, let's say I wanted to do that, where account underscore ID, let's do something else, where entity underscore ID. Actually, you know what? I want name. Let's do email address. Email address equals, right? And then if I do an at symbol and then provide this right here, it will dynamically create this parameter, right? I can use this default value for testing, but that means in the flow, this gets updated to an input that you can dynamically pass in different variables into. Our decisions documentation covers what parameters will generate specific inputs for whichever database you're connecting to. So for an MS SQL, at is the way to go, but it's going to be different per database, and we do have a list of some of those in our documentation.
Would there be any issues when you're pushing from those two different environments? I know they're, completely different, right? MySQL and then Snowflake.
Pushing from two different environments. So like if you're trying to do an update, that depends on how you make the query. So this is going to be formatted to whatever Snowflake's terminology or syntax is using, right? So I wouldn't be making this against SQL. I'm using SQL because my local connection is SQL, but if I set it to my other database integration I set up, I would be writing this differently. For ODBC Snowflake, yes, you can parameterize that. Yes, there is a way to do that. I'd actually done that once before, I think over a year ago. And I don't remember the parameter off the top of my head. It was something like wacky at the time. I think we updated it, but it looks something like this, where it's like two of these and then followed by this. I don't know if that's still it. Again, it was very strange, but that would be either in our documentation, or you'd want to go to Snowflakes for how dynamic variables are set within a Snowflake database. But yeah, if that's not going to work, if your query somehow does not work, you can also run a procedure that you've set inside of your Snowflake database, if such a thing exists inside a Snowflake database, where you can just run it. It has a list of all the procedures that already exist in here. And I just select it, specify a default value for us to test, and then hit run and save. And now that procedure can get added as a flow step.
What's
So
the
as far
default value that you're adding?
the default value is just like a value to test if you're not passing anything into the flow itself, right? So the default value is going to yeah, is going to depend upon the procedure that you are running, right? So maybe some procedures require multiple values. It's going to have multiple defaults. That is just kind of like your test value. If you don't pass one in, then here's what it gets passed in. That sort of thing. Right? So I don't know. Let's see. Which one of the find duplicate rules? Yeah. So this one has three different default values, right? That we pass in. And we can run that to test that the procedure functions real quick. That's all this is doing. This is like our debugger, basically. These will be specified in the flow itself at runtime. These are just all the
Gotcha.
procedures that are listed in my decisions database, by the way. So this isn't going to be the default list you see in your Snowflake. Now, is the second question you ask is a little bit tougher, trying to make sure that decisions gets updated every time a change occurs in an external database. So let's see here. What is the best way to do that?
Also, sorry, quick question. Do I have to, when I'm transferring the data, like, because I'm pushing to a new table, so I don't need to actually create like an interim data structure, right? That's going to hold that data as I pass it through. I can just go from one system to the other.
For here, no, it'll go right in here. So let me go back into that ODBC and I'll show you what's going on. So you'll have get the collection schema, get the table information. I'm going to pass this out. Look at the data type that gets created here, right? List of DB table. Let me pull this out so you can see it more. List of DB table info, right? So if I wanted to oh wait, I don't have to set the default. Never mind. I'm just gonna leave this as rename for now. But this data, the way that this data is input into decisions, you may want to store it in a different way. Like pulling it in this way is pulling it into the flow, not into the decisions database, right? Because you're fetching it in the flow, and now you have all this data inside of your flow, and you get to choose whether you just want to use it and lose it, not save any of it, or if you want to save it into a decisions environment. So if you have an integration, right, a user-defined type that you're saving it to, like a database structure in SQL, then maybe you'd run something like a list mapping step, right, to map particular fields from here into your database structure in SQL. Or maybe you have a external entity that you create to be able to get that information, pass it in. There are a lot of different ways to handle that. But this is just existing in the flow. It is not database saved until you tell it to be. So if you want it to be database saved, you'll have to create some sort of, again, I think list mapping's probably the way to go from what it sounds like you're trying to do, but that may or may not be it, right? You're trying to convert from one type to another. You specify the output type as your user-defined type, and your input type is going to get specified at runtime from here, right? So this gets set dynamically. You don't have to create that ODBC type in decisions. You just have to create the type that it's going to get mapped to when it gets saved to SQL. That making some sense?
It is. I was just worried that I would have to make a data structure every single time I would want to push a table from the two systems. Like,
Oh, maybe depending on if the tables are the same or not. Yeah, because there's not a dynamic conversion decisions that knows, oh, this field is supposed to go to this field, right, inside of my data structure. And decisions has to know what it's creating in SQL since it's a relational database, right? It has to know what's that primary key, what is the item that functions as that. So you actually do have to map that. You don't have to do that one by one for every item, of course, but for the tables, you will need to create that. Now you can create data types from JSON schema. So if you actually have a schema that's going to get mapped to, you could do that, and that creates it dynamically. But again, that's going to vary table to table. I see that Robert has raised his hand. Let me, you should still be good to talk. Did you have some insight you wish to provide?
No, this is in regards to what I was talking about. So I
Mm-hmm.
can wait until you're done with this if it needs.
Okay, yeah, let me go into the second phase of this because I think that's the first part of Alexander's question answered. The second part's the trickier part of how to make sure that that's run every time it's updating. Because what you're trying to do is have decisions have like a continuous watch or call on that system and then pull it in as soon as an update gets made. Now, the only way that I could think that this functions is by running a job with regular frequency to check the table. Now, something you can do in running that job. So let's create a scheduled job real quick, because that's probably what you're looking for here. Unless you're saying like a worker queue or something, you know. So,
Yeah, we don't need to be like perfectly aligned. It's just like maybe once every hour it
oh,
updates.
then yeah, easy. That's all you need to do is just
Yeah, it doesn't need to be
up,
perfect.
update data, calendar. I would do time span, and then specify the start date, specify how often in seconds, minutes, hours, days, whatever it runs. And then you just pick the flow you want to run from here, which would be the one that fetches our stuff, right? And then converts it to decisions. That's all you need to do. Yeah, just run a scheduled job right in your project, specify the time length. In fact, I have a scheduled job running in one of mine that is interesting. Let me go into it real quick. And I want to show you this just to show you the flexibility that you have with this. So scheduled jobs. I have a create accounts job. And the only way this works is if I get updated accounts. So actually, I think create inventory will work. So let's edit job, create inventory, and then this is just data that I need for a particular challenge. But what this does is it fetches entities, right? This can be your external database, right? If it finds new entities, you could have a filter here that compares them to ones that exist. Then it just ends. Like if nothing got updated, why spend all the time running through the update process, right? Just end the flow, and then you don't have all that overhead. And if it
It's
does
funny
find
that you
something
brought that
new,
up
it
because I was literally going
processes.
to ask about that because I was like,
Yep.
I don't want this to run every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's all you do. You have something that would fetch the results, right? And then you'd have a filter that would say, okay, this filter determines if this is new or old. However you configure that in decisions, maybe it's like a flag or it's comparing it to like what a namespace would be. Like there are different ways that you can check whether or not it exists in decisions already or not, right? If it does exist, forget it. Just end the flow. Wait till the next hour. If it doesn't exist, run through, create the stuff, and then end it. This one runs on a slightly different check, where this one checks if accounts exist, because I want to create a static amount of accounts. So if someone imports this project, they get accounts created automatically, like test accounts. So that's what that's being used for. But anyways, yeah, that would be the recommended approach for that.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing. All right, Rob, let's come back to you, and then Jose, we are going to go over yours. All right.
Okay.
So Rob, what's your quick update?
I did figure out how to find the flows in the debugger. I think
Oh,
my issue was I was running an overall process and the run flows for CSV step was in a subflow within that process. And
oh,
so, yeah, I created some unit test information because there was a lot of stuff that needed to go into this flow for it to work. And now I'm able to see the internal flow from that when I'm debugging that
oh,
subflow individually.
fantastic.
So,
Glad to hear that. Cool, cool, cool.
so
So it was
maybe that's
just
just a little thing, but yeah, not able to see it when you're doing an overall, like if it's a subflow, I guess. But if you're inside that flow,
the
you
subflow
can
isn't
see
running
it.
asynchronously, right?
No,
Okay, interesting. Is it, oh, one quick question. Is it a runtime selection flow?
I don't think so. It's just a
Just a
yeah,
standard
just in
subflow.
in yeah, it's just standard. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'll test that out. I'll see if that's a bug or not.
Okay. But yeah,
Okay.
just wanted so I am able to see it now, but just want to let you
Awesome.
know.
Yep, I'll
Thank you.
still check that, but glad to hear it.
All right, thank you.
All right, Jose, let's get to your question. Hi, I encountered a problem with creating a flow structure. I created a flow structure, but once I use it on a raw SQL step, the output of it is dynamic object and not the flow structure that I created. I am using version 8. Okay, so let's here. Let me unmute you real quick. Where am I? Hold on. I think I lost my participants again. All right, there we go. You should be good to talk. So let's exit out of this, and this will be Let's create a flow structure here just for simplicity's sake. And we'll call this test. This will have name and favorite color. All right, so both strings, that's fine. Doesn't really need to be any different for this. And then we are using a SQL step that's going to be fetching objects. So let's see. And then we are running that raw SQL step. Quick question, why are you running the raw SQL step instead of a database integration?
We're using an external database, and mostly we're using like complicated queries for that. So raw SQL is the best step for us, I think.
So you've got return data, you select your data option, and you select type, and then you specified your flow in here, right? Your particular,
Flow structure.
yes, okay. So that gets output here, and it's a result, and then you have the SQL, and I'm just gonna run a select all from accounts. I know it's not the same type. Let me just do that, select all from entity account. So let's see what happens in our debugger when we run this. It's probably not going to map it correctly, and I'm curious how it handles it. Yep, favorite color, name, favorite color, name, favorite color, name, favorite color. Okay, select all from entity account. Okay, so it is not getting mapped to the type that you want is the issue. And they should both be the same type, right? Your flow structure captures everything that would be wanted there. Let's change this to account because that is of the exact same type that we're pulling from. So let's see if this functions correctly at all. Last password reset day, system account. So this actually does map it correctly when it's the correct match.
Yeah, yeah. I think it is working on your decisions, but in mine, like the output type there on the raw SQL step, on the outputs, then the done, then result. Instead of what you've done is what is your data type is list is accounts. So in my case, when I use flow structure, like specifically, I'm using loan findings data uh, flow structure, but the outputs and done it shows list of dynamic object, not the loan findings data flow structure itself. So I'm not
Interesting. So
sure.
specifying it here in the flow structure does not show a list of your particular type. It says dynamic data rows here.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Do you have any converter flow set up?
No,
No.
just
Okay.
the SQL step itself.
Just the SQL step itself. Interesting. This is for an external database. So you specify those credentials, specify those, list of tests. That is strange.
Yeah, it's quite strange because uh almost all of my flow structure that I made on the past creation, there is no problem with that. But since yesterday I encountered this bug or error, and up until now I'm still experiencing it. So I'm not quite sure
Interesting.
why.
I got a quick question for you. What version of decisions are you on?
Version 8.
Do you have the specific version of 8? If you don't, that's okay, but it does help me drill down a little bit.
Where can I check that one?
Very quick. I'll show you here. Exit save. You see the account right here?
Yeah.
Click that, go about, and it tells you what version you're on exactly.
Ah, it says 8.15.0.7
Okay.
72514.
Okay, so 815. Those are the two that those are the make or break ones usually, like the
Mm.
first and second. Those are the major versions. The other ones can matter, I don't want to say they don't because there's one particular version of decisions where that really mattered, but yeah, that's typically the two that we're looking for. So let's see here. This is
Okay.
the raw SQL step output. I'm going to put that into our release notes and see if there's anything that was addressed past version 8.15, and see what we get. 8.15, 8.32. Oh,
Mind you, Gregory, I also use the flow structure on create data step and also the output for or the input for advanced data grid. So all of them is expecting lists of object, not the flow structure itself. So I think it's not specifically for the raw SQL step, but the flow structure itself,
okay, interesting. All right, so your flow structure itself is coming in as the
dynamic object.
yeah, dynamic object. All right. And then we have a create data step that creates a list of that particular flow structure earlier inside of this. All right. Test list is a list. Save it, exit, and then we are seeing that test list being output as a list. External database, custom connection, agent, specify the provider here, and then that output is still passing in list of hmm. So one other quick question. You said
Mhm.
that this broke recently. Were there any updates made to this flow?
This is a new flow that I'm creating. So the past flows or any other creation that I made in the project doesn't have this kind of problem. So I just what I've said, I just experienced this since yesterday. In
And
my
it's just
past
treating it.
creation, for the flow structure, there is no problem. And one more thing, I have a flow structure. I have an existing flow structure that I didn't use. So I kind of redo the columns there or the inputs. And once I tried to use that, it shows the output for that specific flow structure, but the uh, columns there is not updated. So it's still showing the outdated one. I think that is technically a bug because I updated the inputs, but it still didn't show on the flow.
Yeah, I just put in the chat. I would recommend opening a support ticket for that because they can go in and see your environment, how it's configured and how it's set up,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to figure this out. Whereas I can't jump into yours on Lunch and Learn since we post these publicly. But let's, I think the best course forward is to open a support ticket with them and they can get in, they can get on call, and they can figure out what's going on, what like test around, play around, and see what's actually happening. My last question on this before doing this, and I'll specify this in the support ticket. Is this happening on all of your environments or just in a particular environment? Like dev,
What?
test, prod? Like,
I think we're still on the development environment, so I'm not quite sure if this happens also with my other colleagues. And it seems it's not happening to them since they're not asking for this specific issue that I'm encountering. I also tried to ask them, and they didn't confirm to me if this is also happening to them.
I
And
see.
we're all using the same version.
Right, right. That would make sense. You're all developing here. One quick thing then. So a temporary workaround. There are a let's see. There are two temporary workarounds to this that I want to give you, just if you need this running like immediately. There are two different things that you can do. Let's see. There are two quick workarounds, I believe. First one, list mapping step. Drag that over. You have your particular data type that's coming in, right? So your output type is going to be your set test, and then inputs, you specify the objects coming from here. Instead of select type, data rows, right? That gives you that dynamic data rows that you were looking for. Let me pass this to current connection just so you can see it. Result is list of dynamic data rows. Edit, pass that in, result here, done, item mapping editor. Check your input. You've got your fields that are coming in, right? Map your
Mm-hmm.
fields to your item real quick on build data to the columns that they need. That will allow you to continue progressing while that issue is being resolved. If this is a, like, I need this working now, that's a quick way to do that, just so you know. I know it's not ideal.
Oh, I can I try that right now? So
Yep. You
I
just have to
can.
know which field is which coming from your database connection. You have to know which field is which so you can map it here. That's the only tricky
Uh-huh.
part. Yep. The other way you can do this is by setting up the output type within an integration to that database outside of the flow. And I'm going to show you what that looks. I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the other way that you can do that is under integrations. In version 8, by the way, this is going to be under the system settings. So system, integrations, databases. All right, so in version 8, you'll find it there. So integrations, databases, create connection, connection name, test, specify the database type, specify server name, database name, or use the connection string just like you were before, right? Test it, run it, hit OK. And then once that's done, you can then create queries against that database that fetch those items for you. And you can create multiple queries without having to copy the same stuff over and over again. So database, add integration query, select it, local connection. Pick the particular table that you are trying to query from that database connection. I'm going to pick, I always like entity account because it has a lot of fields and it's easy to see. So DBO, entity account, select, run. And then as soon as you have that, create type, where is it? Where is it? Select type, output type, and then you specify your test type that it gets mapped to.
It seems it might not work still because the flow structure that I'm using is still showing dynamic data row. So right now I tried the list mapping step, but the list mapping step output type should be the one that I created, right?
That's correct.
And if I still use that flow structure that I created,
Hmm.
uh, in the list mapping step, the inputs of it will still be dynamic data row. So it's like still it is outputting dynamic data row or
Something got
expect.
messed up with your data type then. If your data type, that means your data type's the one determining what kind of stuff's getting mapped to it. So I'm not sure where, and this is definitely going to need a support ticket then, but somewhere
Mhm.
inside of your data type right here, this got changed. This structure got edited somehow.
I see.
Yeah, I'm not sure how, but I would definitely open that support ticket so someone can go in and take a look then. If the list mapping step after mapping it is not correctly passing out your type, that's who I would check with next.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
So how does the support works?
You send an email to supportdecisions.com and a support member will reach out to you swiftly and start asking for information, set up a call. They'll try and get information and you can export projects. They'll probably ask for your project so they can test it, that sort of stuff.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
I'll just send a message to
I
them.
c- yeah, we've got like 22 of them over in the corner right there. They're all great. So, yeah, you'll be in good hands.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Gregory. Have a good one.
All right. And Sean, I am sorry. I'm still working on that particular ask with the number next to the inbox folder. I'll unmute you so we can talk about that. I don't have that configured yet, but I can get that to you still. Because it was you that asked us last time, right? Like we were still working on that.
Yes. I
Okay.
guess I just wanted to kind of uh know if it was anything about it, but that's fine. That's fine. I just kind of wanted to do my due diligence. That's all.
No, I appreciate it. Absolutely. I'll continue to work on that. Yeah, that is all good. Please keep asking away. It definitely helps us. We got enough on our plate, so please, absolutely.
Good thing.
All right. That's going to be the last question. We're 3 minutes shy of our official end time, so I think that is going to be a good time to wrap it up. Thank you all for coming to the last Lunch and Learn this week, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you, at least some of y'all, next week. Have a
Thank you.
good day, y'all. Yeah, sure thing. Absolutely.